Here is something that almost no one tells you, and it may be the most important thing you hear today. The most dangerous moment in a senior's day is not driving, it is not climbing stairs, it is not walking on icy pavement. It is the first 10 seconds after getting out of bed. Research published in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society found that, not because of poor balance, but because the neuromuscular system has not been activated. Muscles are cold, nerve-to-muscle communication is sluggish, and the joints that are supposed to stabilize every movement are essentially operating without their support system switched on. Blood begins to pool in the veins of the lower leg, circulation slows, and in adults over 75, this pooling creates a measurable risk of deep vein thrombosis. There is a fundamental biological difference between a muscle that is lengthened and a muscle that is awake, contracting, and communicating with the nervous system. Most people reach for a stretch, and stretching is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Stretching lengthens tissue, it does not activate it. We are beginning, we are ready, we are stable. There are 5 exercises that accomplish this, performed entirely in bed. What the body actually needs before the first step of the day is activation. Specific, targeted movements that tell the muscles, the joints, and the brain, not because of poor balance, but because the neuromuscular system has not been activated. Muscles are cold, nerve-to-muscle communication is sluggish. What the body actually needs before the first step of the day is activation. Specific, targeted movements that tell the muscles, the joints, and the brain. And the most important one, the one that research identifies as the single greatest modifiable factor between independent living and assisted care. That one does not come until later. Stay with me. What comes next may change the way you start every morning for the rest of your life. When the body lies horizontal for 6 to 8 hours, a specific and medically significant problem begins building in the lower limbs. The calf muscles, which function as a secondary circulatory pump actively pushing blood upward toward the heart, are completely inactive. A study published in Thrombosis Research found that adults over 75 who spent more than 8 hours in bed without lower limb activation had a 260% higher risk of DVT compared to those who performed even minimal lower leg movements before rising. Supine heel slides pump fresh synovial fluid through the knee before any weight is placed on it, before gravity compresses the joint, or DVT, a blood clot that can migrate to the lungs and become a life-threatening pulmonary embolism. A study published in Thrombosis Research found that adults over 75 who spent more than 8 hours in bed without lower limb activation had a 260% higher risk of DVT compared to those who performed even minimal lower leg movements before rising. This is precisely why orthopedic surgeons prescribe ankle pumps to every single patient recovering from hip or knee replacement surgery. It is a circulatory intervention. Supine heel slides pump fresh synovial fluid through the knee before any weight is placed on it, before gravity compresses the joint. Number 5, ankle pumps and circles. This looks almost too simple to matter. That impression is incorrect. The slower the movement, the more the smaller stabilizer muscles around the ankle joint are recruited. The technique: lie flat, legs extended, a pillow under the knees if comfortable. Point the toes down toward the foot of the bed as far as they will go. Hold for 2 full seconds. 3 sets of this sequence every morning. That is the starting point. But the next exercise addresses something deeper. Before standing, before breakfast, before anything else. They are ranked today from least to most critical. A study found that adults over 70 who performed heel slides daily experienced a 35% improvement in knee function scores and significantly reduced pain. Then pull the toes back toward the shins as far as possible. Hold again for 2 seconds. That is 1 pump. Complete 10 pumps. Then move into circles. 10 rotations clockwise. 10 counterclockwise on each foot. Move slowly and deliberately through the full range of motion. Inside every knee joint is a substance called synovial fluid. This fluid acts as both lubricant and shock absorber. Synovial fluid does not circulate passively. It only moves when the joint itself moves. After a full night, that fluid becomes thick and stagnant. The grinding, stiffness, and pain on those first morning steps is not simply age. It is a joint that has been starved of its own lubrication system. Supine heel slides pump fresh, synovial fluid through the knee before any weight is placed on it, before gravity compresses the joint. Not because of poor balance, but because the neuromuscular system has not been activated. Muscles are cold. Nerve-to-muscle communication is sluggish. 12 repetitions per leg. 2 sets. Keep the kneecap pointing toward the ceiling throughout. Don't let the knee drift inward or outward. When the knee drifts, it creates uneven loading on the cartilage, exactly the pattern that accelerates joint degeneration over years. The knees are addressed, but the structure that connects the knees to the floor, the core and the hips, that is where the real conversation begins. More than 40% of serious falls in adults over 75 happen within the first 30 minutes of waking. Not because of weak legs. Number 3, supine marching. There is one muscle group identified as the strongest single predictor of fall risk in adults over 75. Hip flexor strength. A landmark study followed more than 2,000 adults aged 75 and older and found that hip flexor weakness was a reliable predictor of future falls. The reason is mechanical. The hip flexors lift the leg during each step. When they weaken, the pattern shortens into a shuffle. The feet barely clear the ground. On any uneven surface, any slightly raised rug, a shuffle step does not have the clearance to pass safely. That is when falls happen. Supine marching directly rebuilds these muscles, along with the deep core stabilizers that support every movement made throughout the day. The technique: lie on the back, knees bent, feet flat. Place both hands lightly on the lower belly. This is a feedback tool, not just a resting position. When the knee lifts and the hands feel the core engage, the movement is correct. Don't let the back arch away from the bed. When the lower back arches, the hip flexor pulls on the spine rather than working independently, contributing to chronic lower back pain. Lift one knee slowly, hold for 2 seconds, lower slowly, repeat on the other side, work toward 15 repetitions per side, 2 sets. Research from the University of Pittsburgh found that seniors improved walking speed by 22% and reduced fall risk by nearly 40% after 8 weeks. Golden Glow Senior exists specifically to give the 60-plus population the research-grounded health knowledge they deserve. Subscribe right now. There is an entire library of information here about aging, strength, independence, and longevity, and you will not want to miss what is coming. Subscribe. Continue. The most dangerous moment in a senior's day is not driving. It is not climbing stairs. It is not walking on icy pavement. A study found that adults over 70 who performed heel slides daily experienced a 35% improvement in knee function scores and significantly reduced pain. The quadriceps are responsible for straightening the knee, supporting body weight during standing, and controlling the body during descent. After age 70, quadriceps strength declines at approximately 3 to 5% per year without intervention. Weak quadriceps make you 5 times more likely to need a mobility device. What the body actually needs before the first step of the day is activation. Specific targeted movements that tell the muscles, the joints, and the brain. The technique: lie flat. Bend one knee, foot flat. The other remains straight. Before lifting, press the back of the straight knee down into the mattress. Slowly raise the straight leg to approximately 45 degrees. Hold at the top for a full 3 to 5 seconds, then lower slowly, taking at least 3 seconds. Straight leg raises are a cornerstone of rehabilitation because they load the quadriceps without applying any compression force to the knee joint. The muscle does all the work. Number 2, straight leg raises. Orthopedic medicine calls this the gatekeeper muscle. That title belongs to the quadriceps. Seniors who performed progressive straight leg raises increased quadricep strength by 47% and were 61% less likely to experience a fall-related injury. That descent phase is not a recovery moment. It is the most important part of the exercise. Research from McMaster University demonstrated that eccentric loading produces greater gains. Number 2, straight leg raises. Orthopedic medicine calls this the gatekeeper muscle. That title belongs to the quadriceps. The quadriceps are addressed, but there is one final layer, a muscle group being switched off by modern life. This is the one that changes everything, and it is next. Number 1, glute bridges. In 2019, a major clinical trial published in the Lancet tracked more than 3,000 adults aged 75 and older over a multi-year period. The answer was posterior chain weakness, specifically the weakening of the muscles from the lower back through the glutes and into the hamstrings. When these muscles weaken, the pelvis tilts forward, the lumbar spine loses its natural curve, the center of gravity shifts. The body begins a slow structural collapse that most people have been taught to accept as a natural consequence of aging. The average adult over 75 spends more than 10 hours seated. Researchers call this condition gluteal amnesia, a state where the brain loses the recruitment pathway. The glute bridge is the most direct way to reverse this pattern, to reopen that neural communication pathway and wake the posterior chain back up. The technique: lie on the back, knees bent, feet flat. Before lifting, squeeze the glutes as tightly as possible, as if holding something firmly between them. This is not optional. Slowly drive the hips upward by pressing through the heels until the body forms a straight line. Hold for 5 full seconds. Maintain the squeeze. Breathe normally. Lower slowly, 4 full seconds. And without allowing the hips to fully rest, begin the next repetition. This technique is 40% more effective at activating the muscle. Consistent practice results are substantial. A Lancet study found a 58% reduction in fall risk and a 71% reduction in the likelihood of transitioning to assisted living. Number 1, glute bridges. In 2019, a major clinical trial published in the Lancet tracked more than 3,000 adults aged 75 and older over a multi-year period. 71%. That is not a marginal improvement. That is the difference between living on one's own terms and losing that freedom. Strength and independence are still within reach. Golden Glow Senior will keep bringing you the science. Subscribe now and share this with someone who needs it. Turn on notifications. Do not miss it. 5 exercises, all performed in bed, all completed before standing, all requiring 0 equipment: ankle pumps, heel slides, marching, leg raises, and glute bridges. The full routine takes less than 15 minutes. Independence is not surrendered to age. It is preserved or lost by what is done consistently, daily, in small decisions. Start tomorrow, 1 exercise at a time. The direction matters more than the distance. Your body is more capable of recovering than you have been told.